Kind of another area that revenue management and the marketing team work a lot on is during the actual journey of our guests. So if you take one individual guest, here are some of the ways that we try and work together with our marketing colleagues on. So between planning and booking, I've just talked about the experience seeker or the deal-oriented consumer. Then between the pre-stay and the check-in, so after they've made the booking and to the pre-stay, we try and build some predictive models that allow us to understand how to personalize their stay, as well as what sort of room types or spas or whatever additional amenities to kind of offer them to expand this total hotel. And then upon check-in, we try and deliver to some of our hotels. We're just piloting some of these areas right now with a few of the hotels. It's not yet across all of ours, but this idea of what exactly is the most likely product that is going to convert when someone comes to the front desk. So we've always been training our front desk agents to be observant, whether the person is on business or the person is on leisure, and whatever they've booked now, what do you feel comfortable upselling? But we're going to try and take some of these analytics the next step to say that so many other things we can observe. If you have only 4 more suites to upsell to, out of everybody arriving on that day, here are the 6 people you should try and target first to do those 4. So try to put a little bit more of our numbers behind to increase some of the conversion rates for upsell. And then this on-stay, during the on-stay, we try and use some of the loyalty scores. Now, again, a lot of these are in early pilot stages, but they all have very good results for us. So trying to use some of these loyalty scores to customize the stay experience for individual guests. And then finally is to actually build back in, at the end, an understanding of the satisfaction of the guest. So what element of their stay actually drove the most satisfaction? And this is really critical for us so that we actually know how to improve for the next group of guests that's coming in. We know if they had this experience with us, and we're going to try and push some of these experiences, they're going to leave far more satisfied. Because we know for a fact that if they leave far more satisfied, they're most likely to come back and stay with us. And then post the trip, we also try and use some of the analysis to do things like, what is the next best region and the next most likely hotel and country that this individual is going to go to? So we try and use some of these revenue management understandings so that for the next campaign that goes out, we'll say, okay, if the campaign is around an Asia-Pacific campaign or is around a particular country, then we'll know straight away that these are the guests that are the most likely to respond to a campaign like that. And then this is just to share my kind of final slide is just to share. Well, a marketing campaign is not just about digital channels, although having said that, more and more the money is being spent and the activities and the resources are being spent against the digital channels. Those are the channels that are all pervasive in our life nowadays and very high response rate for it. But there are still quite a few numbers. So brand.com, email, and digital ads. This is one group. So whenever you have a campaign, here are all the channels that is going to go out to. And our colleagues in the integrated marketing team, I don't think there's anybody from our integrated marketing team here, but they're all over this. So that same message or that same campaign needs to go out in its all nuanced formats through all these different channels. Then, of course, the travel agent listings, the OTAs as well. Then it goes out to our brand partners, the frequent flyer programs and the credit card partners, as well as some of the brand partners, BMWs, for example, or Adidas. And then print ads. We still do a small number of print ads, but the print ads would be more for brand campaigns that's more likely than for a need period. And then, of course, public relations. Can't underestimate the value of public relations. If you don't have a lot of money to put into print ads, the way you're going to get your message out there is through public relations. I'm always surprised time and again that a revenue manager is asked to do a promo or a package, and it's loaded, it's out there. And then the question is, so how does the whole world know that you've got this amazing new package that's out there? So there is definitely an area between revenue management and marketing, getting it combined, making sure your message is out there. And of course now it's, so many of the channels that we go out through is now social. So if it's a China, then if you want to target China market, it's got to be Weibo and WeChat. And if you're trying to target a lot of the more female market and it's a more upmarket campaign that you're having, then of course Pinterest would be a big one, and so on. So it is a very complicated world that our marketing colleagues are trying to navigate. And so our role in revenue management is really to make sure that we support them every step of the way to try and be able to zoom in and focus and improve their conversion rates and maximize the pricing throughout all the different customer groups that we are targeting. So with that, let's all go on a holiday. So thank you. Q&A, okay. Q&A. Any questions? Yes, Heidi.
How much time did you spend to build that infrastructure? How much effort had to go into build that infrastructure to actually do this type of result?
Yeah, the surprising thing is we've actually always had bits and pieces. It was actually, for us about 2 years back, we reorganized the organization to actually bring all the profit and revenue optimization teams together under one roof. So we were actually leveraging so-called a natural analytical ability, I guess, of the revenue management team to bring it together. So this combination of the 4 areas that we do, the traditional hotel profit optimization, the guest, the consumer insights and stuff, is it takes place at the corporate level and to a large extent at the regional level. On the property level, I think is the next step for us. It's like now that we actually understand how all of these works together really, really well at the higher global and regional level, we would really like to want to have that individual hotels actually think in the same way and sort of self-service in the same way. Banu, yes.
Yeah, so I think it was a great presentation, and it gave a good sense on, the how. I was just curious on the when. So when do you, are there like some trigger points which tell you when do you run the marketing campaign? Are there tools and technology you're using, or is this, most often when we talk to customers, it seems like, marketing departments working in isolation, and it's their job to continuously think of running these campaigns. But I'm just wondering if there is some alignment with revenue management where you're saying, look, we're expecting a lean season, and now to trigger some demand, let's do something. So
yes, for certain. So we have what we would call, at the end of the day, how it gets out to the field, and for everybody to understand is that we have this like big campaign, big calendar that has global campaigns slotted in, that has hotel campaigns slotted in, and regional campaigns, and it could be rooms, food and beverage, events, and seasonal, and so on and so forth. So it is one kind of major calendar that is organized across our group. And because we have this organized, the other thing that underlies it is the process. So, you have to actually complete a description of what that campaign is meant to do, some estimation about this is the cost I'm going to put in, and this is the revenue I expect. Here are the different channels that I'm going to have this campaign go out to. And then you have the revenue management and the marketing team talking about, therefore, the analytics behind it, what type of pricing, and then there are also testings that go with it. So before a campaign goes out, like which title would people open the email campaign more on? Which pictures would get a better types of conversions before you actually deploy the full campaign? Now, the one thing that we would love to do, which we haven't got around to yet because it might require a little bit more investment in analytics and algorithms, is the concept of optimizing across campaigns. And I'll give an example of that. So imagine you have 10 campaigns that are lined up in the calendar. Because, okay, it makes sense. There's a need period for this region. And, you have the 60-day out, there is one wave. 30 days out, there's another wave, 20 days. So if all of those are built in, then the final one you have is, for example, what I call audience selection. So you build this predictive model to select the audience that will best respond to this campaign. But imagine that you have a very, very valuable guest. And this very valuable guest could actually respond to campaign 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. But because it's chronological now, by the time the campaign 1 has run and the predictive model there has selected this person is no longer available for selection in 2, 3, 4, and 5. But actually your most profitable campaign, if the person had responded, could have been campaign 5. So the idea is we should know that in order to have, say, selected the audience for campaign 5 first before we started this chronological order of 1 to 5. So that one we see it as a thought, something we'd like to work towards. We have a little bit of an idea how we can get to it, but that's the next iteration of trying to optimize on some of these campaigns. Good. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Thanks. For a chain of your size, would you say, or would you be able to share, can you work without OTA when you launch your campaign? Are you able to do it pretty well on your own, or still you're relying, the effect, what OTA can bring?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. So it depends on the campaign. If it's a brand campaign, then we won't be having it on the OTAs. And it also depends on it depends on the various databases we have. I'll give an example. We have a very robust and big and a high response rate from our American database. So if you're running a campaign that's for the American hotels and you're using a lot of the American database, then you would need to rely a lot less on OTA. So you have so many other channels. You could do digital ads, you could do digital remarketing. You have a lot of partners who are there who have their own database that can share with you. But for example, we are a lot weaker in China. We don't have many hotels in China. We haven't been there for so many years. So naturally, our database for that internal database is much weaker. And we know that C-Trip is huge and owns a lot of the market. So if you're trying to drive a need period type of a promotion, then you won't have a choice but to sort of say that, okay, I've run out of all the cheaper channels and options that I have, so I have to go and work with my C-Trip partner as well. But you'll find that in most cases, I would say probably 70% of the campaigns we run in many markets where we are not as well presented yet or where we don't have such a long history with them, we would have to certainly work with our OTA partners. It's a matter of just kind of balancing act. Does that help a little? I know you're trying to hear the fact that we don't have to work with OTAs at all, right? I mean, but I know this is not about OTAs, but I'm going to say my piece since I have the mic anyway. Yeah. I think we are too afraid of the role of OTAs. I think OTAs have their role in terms of acquisition. If you truly went and studied what you pay, the cost of acquiring your own guests directly, you'll be shocked at how expensive it is. If you look at the amount of PR and marketing and sales team members that you have to go out with in order to acquire a new guest, it is very, very expensive. So I would say an OTA actually is a very effective form. Now, what is not perhaps forgivable is if the guests were to repeat constantly with you and still book through an OTA. So once you as a hotel have got that guest, it is truly up to you to make sure that the second, third, and subsequent stays are through your own loyalty programs. And because you've amazed them with the service level that you deliver, the personalization that you've been able to do in terms of their on-stay experience. So I think a lot of us should be focused on that second onward stay as opposed to being overly focused on competing with the OTAs on the acquisition front.
Just a good question about the content marketing.
Bila, yes.
So we always hear about content marketing. It's a new trend as well. And digital marketing. So more content marketing is not really clear for revenue manager and also the involvement of revenue management in digital marketing. So do you think also revenue manager should work directly with the marketing department in terms of the content to maximize what they are trying to deliver, to make sure they are delivering the right message, as you mentioned. So more about emphasizing on content marketing.
Yeah, I think the content itself is really, really key. So our regions are structured, since 2 years ago when we reorganized, our regions are structured to have the combined integrated marketing team, which actually comprises of the digital marketer, the more traditional marketing, and the revenue management team, including sales team. So, and I have Robin sitting there as our regional for Asia Pacific for Asia Pacific for revenue management. And you can be sure that not any one campaign will go out without a lot of thought to what exactly is the audience and what is the purpose and what's the theme and therefore what's the content that's going to go out there. You know, is it a whole thing around, so for example, if it's a whole thing around trying to look at the shopping because it's around maybe shopping seasons and you're trying to target the Hong Kong market or the North Asian market, it's very, very big on retail when they travel. Into maybe Southeast Asia. So if that was kind of your target audience and that was the period and so on, then revenue management would play a much stronger role in terms of making sure that there's something you can book. So are there shopping packages? Are the right hotels with the retail outlets available? And then, of course, then the PR would be very busy generating, both trying to generate online PR as well as offline PR for that. Then the digital group would be very busy with trying to make sure that all of these packages and visuals and partners that are coming in with us are actually featured on all the social channels. So I think you don't get a big bang for your buck if you don't kind of coordinate all these activities and make sure that it's heard through multiple channels and the core of it all is, of course, what's your content and what's your theme for this campaign. Does that help? Okay. Great. Any other questions? And so do we still have time for no, we don't have? Okay. We will perfect. We have tea and coffee. Okay. So we have tea and coffee now. So enjoy. See you back later. Thank you.